Jalen Milroe accepted an invite to the NFL draft, which makes you wonder how many quarterbacks are going to go in the first round. We'll discuss on today's edition of Locked On NFL.
The new Locked On NFL. The madman Tyler Rowland is your double shot of NFL espresso with the Locked On local experts on every major story. Get ready. Rowland is revving up. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Football fans, welcome in to the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with help from our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I am your host, the madman, Tyler Rowland, joined today by Locked On NFL expert Lauren Cox. On today's episode, we're going to talk about some teams that we think are going to go over their win totals, some teams we think are going to go under their win totals this year. But we'll start with Jalen Milroe accepting an invite to the NFL draft. Very perplexing. Before we dive into it, though, I do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen and for being an everydayer here with us at the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Lauren, little surprise over the weekend when we hear that Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe has accepted an invite to go to the first round of the NFL draft. And my guys, Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino over at Locked On NFL Scouting, talked about the surprising news.
We started seeing some invitations go out for the 2025 NFL draft for players in attendance. And somebody reported over the weekend that they're going to be a little bit more selective with the players that get invited, a little bit smaller list. And yet, lo and behold, Jalen Milroe got invited to Green Bay for the draft, and he's going to go. He accepted his invitation. So as a result, you say, hey, where might Jalen Milroe get drafted?
This isn't a conversation I was prepared to have with you. I mean, I'm prepared to have it because we're going to have it, but I didn't think we would be having a conversation about Jalen Milroe potentially in the first round. But if you told me in October, I'd be like, oh, okay, he must have played like he did against LSU for the rest of the season. That's the last time I kind of considered Jalen Milroe to be a top 32 player. So what are we doing here, man? He's going to be there. That's a heck of an indicator that he's expected to go on night one, unless it's a big PR thing where he falls out and then he has all the just a lot of attention that he would get as a guy that's there and doesn't get picked, and then day two is going to be all about him. There's just going to be a ton of attention. So short of it being that and he actually goes in the first round, Kyle, I struggle here. I really do. I mean, we're having conversations about, is Shedeur Sanders going to be liked enough by either Cleveland or the Giants to go 2 or 3? And then there's the Jackson Dart layer, and then it's oh, now we're already to Jalen Milroe. I don't have an easy enough time finding homes for the 3 that we kind of think are going to go in the first round, let alone invoking another name.
So, Lauren, I guess that begs the question of how many quarterbacks do you think are going to go in the first round?
Yeah, I think we see this thing in the draft where when a quarterback goes at the top early and maybe another one goes early, it sort of lifts everyone else up, where you can kind of get this, not a run on quarterbacks, but I think NFL teams start to feel that pressure where when you have a couple quarterbacks go in the top 5 or whatever, then all of a sudden another quarterback goes in the teens, another one goes in the 20. Otherwise those quarterbacks may have gone later, but as quarterbacks come off the board, I think teams start to feel that pressure of oh no, other teams might like this quarterback class more than we thought. We got to make sure we get our guys. So to me, it's not out of the question if Cam Ward goes 1 as expected, and if Shedeur goes, somewhere in the top 10 as some people project, then teams like the Steelers at 21 or the Rams at 26 feel this pressure. Uh-oh, these quarterbacks are coming off the board. We got to make sure we get our guy now.
Well, I think where the real wild card is too is the teams at the top of the second round. If the Cleveland Browns do pass on taking a quarterback, and then the New York Giants pass on taking Shedeur Sanders, those two teams sit at 33 and 34, and they could easily make that jump up into the first round to go get a guy like a Jalen Milroe or get a guy like a Jackson Dart. It's even if Shedeur Sanders does fall a little bit outside of the top 10, you still have that element in. And now we're hearing, according to Jordan Schultz, that Jalen Milroe had private workouts with the Saints and the Browns, and they were incredibly impressive. And he's met with the Jets and the Steelers. So it's My instant reaction is to say I think there will be 3 quarterbacks. I think it'll be Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Jackson Dart will find his way in there just because, like you said, teams need quarterbacks. But thinking about the Giants and the Browns maybe making a slight trade up into the first round and getting that first or that 5th-year option on either of these guys to go along with getting the top-tier positional player that they get at the top in Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, however it shakes out, like that makes me maybe lean towards maybe 3.5 should be the number on that. Maybe we could see a 4th quarterback, whether that be a Jalen Milroe, a Tyler Shook, a Will Howard, a Kyle McCord, a Quinn Ewers. Like, I doubt we see, any, but who knows at this point what the flavor of the week might be for these teams.
And that's a key spot there. Is like, I don't even necessarily want to assume Jackson Dart is some sort of consensus number. I know that you weren't, but like,
right. I don't think he should be. Yeah.
Some people in the draft community, it's like, oh yeah, duh, it's got to be Ward, Sanders, Dart. And then from there, you decide who your number 4 is. But this is a draft class where all we hear about is that, yeah, there's 6 or 8 top 10, prospects at the top, and then everyone else is kind of a wash. And when everyone else is kind of a wash, some team may see Jalen Milroe as this can't miss first round quarterback, and some teams may see Jackson Dart as that and have completely different opinions, where all it takes is that one team to say, we believe in this guy and we don't really care what other teams think about him or what draft Twitter thinks about him. We're just going to get our quarterback because we believe in this specific player and this is our spot to get him.
I'll be honest with you, Lauren, just my evaluation of this thing. If I'm not going with either of the top 2 quarterbacks in Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, I probably would go with Jalen Milroe at that point. I mean, he struggles with ball placement. The accuracy's all over the place. Like, you got to clean up a ton. There's no doubt about it. He is a big developmental guy as a passer. But he is an electric runner, an incredible runner, would be one of the best running quarterbacks in the NFL immediately the day that he steps in. And I think that you're right in this draft class where I'm not as sold on Jackson Dart as a lot of people. I don't see the ability to elevate his teammates. He didn't play in a very NFL-style offense in Ole Miss, so it's wondering, can he go through the progressions? Can he do all that? You look at a guy like Tyler Shook, who people like, he's big-bodied. He's hurt all the time, and he's scared to death to get hit because he's hurt all the time. He can't create. Like, I just, to me, it's more about the limitations I see for the other prospects that are out there where, yeah, if I want to take a chance on a quarterback early in the second round or, trade up in the first round, I wouldn't do that personally. But if I'm going to do that, I think Jalen Milroe would be the guy because his potential is probably higher than any other quarterback in the draft because of his physical gifts.
Yeah, exactly. He's got the things that you can't teach, and he's got the special in the things that you can't teach that maybe you feel like, okay, yeah, we can work on the ball placement or some mechanical things when it comes to throwing. I mean, yes, you can't fix the hand size being a little bit small, but other than that, you can kind of fix the rest. You think as an NFL coaching staff that you can fix the rest, and we'll take the super special traits. And I think that kind of player you feel a lot better about, in the early second round or maybe even late first than, picking in the top 10. Like I think about, like, could Jalen Milroe at worst be like what Justin Fields is right now? Like, you'd feel a lot better about that as the 43rd pick or whatever, as opposed to the 10th overall pick where he ended up going. And that could end up being a nice sweet spot for him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there. But moving away from the NFL draft, we do got to get to some NFL teams. And look, the draft is obviously going to make a big difference, but we got some win totals. So we're going to tell you some teams that we think go under, like the Philadelphia Eagles, and some teams that go over, like the Los Angeles Chargers. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Chewy. You've probably heard of Chewy. They really do have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, whether you're shopping for food, treats, or even pet healthcare. Chewy makes it fast and easy and affordable with over 100,000 products from all your favorite brands. Chewy has everything your pet needs, again, from food to treats to toys to beds and grooming. And it's not just for dogs and cats. They've got supplies for birds, fish, reptiles, small pets too. Chewy has everything to manage your pet's health, from prescriptions to telehealth vet visits, even in-person vet clinics rolling out nationwide. And the auto ship feature is a game changer because you can automatically set up your deliveries for food, treats, or any other essentials so that you never run out. Me personally, I just had to get some liver supplements for my dog after he had surgery last week, and I was able to get them on Chewy. It was recommended by my vet as well to go to Chewy to get that product, and it was delivered seamlessly. So make sure that Chewy helps you Give your pet everything they need to be happy and healthy. Right now, you could save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com or clicking the link in the description. Save $20 off your first order with free shipping by clicking the link in the description. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. All right, Lauren, let's continue today's edition of Locked On NFL. We talked about the Jalen Milroe news, and man, it is, I thought they were saying they were going to limit how many guys that they were inviting this year, and now they're inviting Jalen Milroe. Very curious what's going on there. But regardless, we finally got some team win totals here for the season ahead. And Lauren and I wanted to take a moment, kind of go over some teams that we think right now are going to go under their win total on FanDuel and some teams that are going to go over. And Lauren had a good one right out of the gate, the Philadelphia Eagles. And under, and look, the Eagles are going to be different than they were last year. And that might have to do with Lauren's argument. But my guy, Louie from Locked On Eagles, talked about how different the Eagles might be.
If a move is made with the intention of trying to maximize and make your quarterback better, it's hard to ever fault it. And I could see Howie Roseman continuing that track record in 2025, especially when you consider where he is in the draft. If certain positions don't fall, if there's a run on certain spots and the best player available could be at a position that could really help Jalen Hurts in 2025, but also in the future, I don't hate the idea. It's not the number one thing that I'm gunning for, even if it is an offensive lineman, if it's a tight end, if it's a receiver, but I would understand all three moves, especially this year if you think that they're going to need Jalen Hurts to carry them a little bit more, right? If they need to pass the football more, if they want to keep Saquon Barkley healthy, if let's say Mekhi Becton's departure and maybe Dallas Goedert as well, if he's not in Philadelphia, it ends up downgrading the offense at certain spots. And let's say maybe the defense isn't, I don't think it's going to be bad next year, but let's say it's not the number one ranked unit in football next year, and there's maybe some more flaws, some more growing pains heading into 2025. Jalen Hurts might have to carry this football team a little bit more, at least for the start of the season, kind of like he did in 2023. And if that is the case, I think trying to add and support him more through this draft is not a bad idea.
So, Lauren, does any of that factor into your decision to go under on 11.5 wins for the Philadelphia Eagles?
There's definitely some aspect of you win the Super Bowl and you lose good players in there. But part of it is just how hard it is to win 12 plus games in multiple seasons. Like the over under for them is, as we're recording this on FanDuel, is set at 11.5 wins. And when you say under, it's like, oh, you think the Eagles are going to be bad? It's like, no, I think they'll probably win 10 or 11 games, which is maybe winning their division and still a great season. But to expect them to go 12 plus wins again is tough. I mean, you look back over the last 20 years for the Philadelphia Eagles, they've been over 12 wins. They've been over 11 wins 3 times. All 3 times they went to the Super Bowl. So it's like, Eagles fan, you're either going to the Super Bowl or you're going to be under 11 wins. And that's okay. It's just hard to sustain regular season success in that way. And I just don't know that the Eagles are going to be able to do that degree of again, regular season success. Playoffs, who knows what happens?
Well, it would probably be hard to do that 2 years in a row anyways, let alone all the talent that they've lost, especially on the defensive line, which was really the special sauce for that team last year. I know it's easy to look at Saquon Barkley, and certainly that mattered, but the rotation on the defensive line, and now you lose Milton Williams, and now you lose Josh Sweat, that's going to matter. That's going to factor in. So I agree with you there, and I think it is likely that the Eagles take just a small step back, but I'm with you. I still think they're a good team, but 11.5, they'd have to get to 12 wins. I'm with you there at this stage with things. It's fair to call that an under, but another team that I think is an under, and my choice here, is the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, their win total at FanDuel is 10.5. Why would we believe a San Francisco 49ers team that didn't get anywhere close to 10.5 wins last year has improved enough to get 11 wins? Where? They've gotten worse this year. So I'm sorry. I think that is absurd. I do not understand how that's possible. Give me the under on San Francisco, 10.5.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to go over 10.5, but this is a team that I think could be pushing for 10. I think they're going to find a way to scare you, because we all felt like they were super underachieving last season. And of course, injuries at a bunch of different positions were a big factor in that. And I think we all sort of assume all the guys that were hurt last year, they can't possibly get hurt again this year, so they're going to be fine. When in reality, of course, players do get hurt multiple years, and injuries can lead to future injuries. Like, I think there's still an overarching faith in Kyle Shanahan and company to figure it out, that the 49ers will have these bad years and not necessarily like string together back-to-back bad years, at least in the Shanahan era. So they'll find a way. But I'm kind of with you that the doubts are certainly there, and 10.5 is a big number to try and overcome there.
Yeah. So they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. All right. They already had to trade Deebo Samuel. Christian McCaffrey is another year older and has shown signs that he's going to be dealing with injuries. Trent Williams, another year older as well. They've lost some guys on the offensive line like Aaron Banks, who was a very good guard. On defense, they lose their top corner in Shavarius Ward. They lose Dre Greenlaw. Like, I just think that there are a lot of losses here. So it's like, you were right. Last year, they were underachievers, and I think they should have won more games than they did last year. They had a few games early in the year where they were up at home, and they let their division rivals come back on them. Like, there is some regression where they're going to be back. But I think that they are a worse roster and a worse football team this year. And, I mean, Brandon Ayuk coming back from ACL, usually it takes some time. I like Ricky Pearsall, but I thought he was overdrafted, and I don't think that you can – we hear they're going to trade Brandon Ayuk, or they're thinking about it. Like, you can't trade Brandon Ayuk and leave Ricky Pearsall by himself. You're going to have to pay George Kittle $20 million a year now after the Trey McBride thing. Like, I just think there are too many things piling up on them to where, yes, in theory, they should win more games than they won last year. But 11? Like, this team's going to bounce back all the way to win 11 games, which probably wins the division. Like, there's just no way they could have a bounce back year and win 8, 9, 10. Like, 11 is far too high. I am slamming the under on San Francisco.
I wonder if some of that is a reflection of how the odds makers feel about the rest of the division, saying like, well, Seahawks might not be any good, and the Rams could take that step back that we keep waiting for them to fully take back, and the Cardinals are still trying to figure everything out. Like, maybe they feel like, well, the 49ers could just kind of, I don't want to say, cruise to a division victory per se, but head-to-head have some matchups there that are a little bit more favorable and advantageous, and get back to the sort of winning Shanahan ways, and throw Robert Saleh back in the mix as defensive coordinator to rejuvenate that side of the ball. And I could sell myself on them having a better year, but yeah, 10.5 to 11 wins, like that's almost double what they did last year. That feels like a big jump.
It just feels too high to me. It just kind of stuck out to me like, wow, I think 9.5 would be reasonable, but 10.5, you're just giving me way too much leeway. I do want to mention, I had just a couple of other teams that I wanted to throw in, and it has to do with who my number one over is going to be. But the Chiefs at 11.5, the Broncos at 9.5, those are high when they play in the same division as the Los Angeles Chargers, who I think are going to go over. I'm going to tell you why. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, the NBA playoffs are almost here. Go Lakers. And FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you're going to get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins again. Just place a $5 bet and you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting so easy, man. Whether I'm picking my favorite team, the Lakers, or if I'm going into some player props, like how many threes Luka's going to hit. I mean, it's not just threes. You do steals, assists. FanDuel gives you so many ways to bet your favorite players' props. And after the game tips off, you can combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a big chance to win big. Don't miss out. Make sure that you head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. All right, Lauren, let's cap off today's edition of Locked On NFL. We talked about Jalen Milroe getting an invite to the Combine and accepting. We talked about some teams we think we are going to go under, like the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers, but now do want to shift over to the overs. Before I do, thanks again for making Locked On NFL your first listen each and every day. Make sure that you check out the afternoon edition of Locked On NFL with Tony Wiggins in the barber shop. But again, I teased it. Professional tease, Lauren. My over team is the Los Angeles Chargers. My guys over at Locked On Chargers talked about that win total, and it's even gone down a little bit from the time that it came out.
They were second, at least as far as the most wins that they're projecting for any team, or I guess fifth, depending on how you look at it. But there were only 4 teams, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Bills, and the Ravens, that had a higher projection, which I think shows kind of the respect that the Chargers are getting in year 2 of Jim Harbaugh.
Absolutely. And hey, how else could you look at it when you take a team that had 5 wins the previous season and add 6 wins to their win total in 1 year and completely change the culture, change the way that the organization is seen from the outside, and also how the players view it from the inside as well, and change the mentality and how they play football, into a more physical, hard-nosed brand of football. And it worked out for the Chargers a lot better this past season as they were able to get into the playoffs. So a lot of respect out there for Jim Harbaugh, for Joe Ortiz, and ultimately the direction that the Chargers are heading.
Yeah, and I mean, FanDuel last year had them at 8.5, and they smashed that, right? Getting to 11 wins. We'll see if it's at 10.5 on FanDuel this year. It's going to be tough.
I agree that it's going to be tough, but I believe in the Jim Harbaugh program. I just think he's a great coach. He's just a great leader. His team's always prepared. I think he always has a great plan. Even if I don't love the coordinator on the offensive side of the ball with Greg Roman, I just trust Jim Harbaugh. I just trust that they're going to be a consistent team. And I think they're building the roster more. Last year, they had to tear the thing down to the studs. They had a couple of pieces that they had to keep around, but they were trying to remake the team in the Harbaugh image. And I think we're going to get a true version of that this year. And I think the Chargers win the AFC West this season.
Yeah, when we were preparing for the show and we were going through what teams we want to do as overs and unders here, I had written Chargers to send to you as the team I wanted to pick, and then I decided to change it, and we'll talk about my team in a little bit here, but I am 100% on board with you here. This was the first team I identified. The team goes 11-6 last season, and their over-unders down at 9.5.
And it started at 10.5, Lauren, and it's dropped, which means people are hitting the under.
It seems crazy to me. I know they quote unquote overachieved a little bit, but they could still do worse than last season and still hit the over on their over under here. And yet there's not a team that, obviously they lost Bosa, right? It's not that they didn't lose anything, but this was a team that was already
played.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't like a huge contributor for them. It's more of a big name than a big loss there. And they've still been able to add some other pieces and get some new weapons in there for Justin Herbert. The offensive line's gotten some help as well. This just feels like a team that maybe they're not going to take some huge leap, but they should stay pretty steady. Harbaugh's 49ers never did worse than 8-8. You know what I mean? This is going to be a team that is really, really solid. So 9.5, give me the over on that all day.
He's the White Tomlin. All right. His teams just always come to play. I believe in him. That's all that it comes down to. He's just a winner. He finds a way to get his team ready to go. He motivates them. And now they're going to have a roster that's more in his image and more what he wants. They can add another playmaker. I'm in on the Chargers winning the division this year. That's going to be one of my bold NFL takes that I'm riding with throughout the summer. But who was your pick for the over after you graciously let the Chargers fall to me?
For me, this is another one. It's kind of the inverse of the Eagles conversation, where I don't think this team is going to be good all of a sudden, but I think they're going to be better than their over under. And it's the New York Giants at 5.5 wins. I don't think the Giants are going to be some playoff team with Russell Wilson. I don't think Russell Wilson is going to save Brian Daboll's job, but I think he can win 6 or 7 games. I don't think that's enough to save the job, but I think 5 wins. They got what they were a 3-win team last year with almost nothing at quarterback, with Daniel Jones struggling and Drew Lock not being much and Tommy DeVito. Not that I'm a huge believer in Russell Wilson, but he got the Steelers to 10 wins. I think with Malik Neighbors, with the opportunity to add a top 3 pick early in this draft, whether that's Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter or whatever that looks like, I think they're going to be, again, not even a good team, but better than 5 wins. I can see them getting without too much trouble.
Yeah, I think if they won 6 games, you'd win the bet, and they could still be a bad team, and it would work out both ways. I'm with you there. I think some of these teams that are just super low, it's like somebody's going to bounce back and win some games. I think that makes a ton of sense. I got to tell you, Lauren, hate to do it, but a little home cooking. Titans 5.5. Cam Ward, I'm telling you, you go back and watch Titans games last year. Will Levis lost you watched it live and living color in 4K. Will Levis single-handedly lost the Titans. They were up 17-0 on the Bears in week 1, and Will Levis single-handedly gave the game away, along with a little help from a punt block. But that's like 3 or 4 games last year, maybe even 5 if you throw in Mason Rudolph. The quarterback literally killed the Titans. I think just by sheer luck, they'll win 6 games. So it's a little home cooking.
It just as much as we talk about how it's hard for teams to win, 12 or more games in back-to-back years, it's also hard to lose,
Yes.
14
Correct.
games in back. Like it takes a special kind of incompetence to be under 5 wins back-to-back years. And maybe, like I wondered about the Cleveland Browns, like if they end up getting Kirk Cousins, could they be a team that it's hard to be 3-14 in back-to-back seasons unless you're just in the most dire of dire straits, or a team that's really tearing down and tanking. And like teams like the Titans, teams like the Giants that are trying to win football games, they will find ways to win a few more football games. And it's the teams that are really just in the messes and the doldrums that end up really sinking and drowning there.
Yeah, 100%. That's just the way that the NFL is. And that's the best part about the NFL is things do swing back and forth. And, that's the ball is oblong shaped and we don't know which way it's going to bounce. And that counts for a lot of things in this sport. But with that being said, that is going to do it for today's show. Again, make sure you check out the afternoon edition of Locked On NFL. Check out Locked On NFL Draft. It's that time of year, folks. Make sure that you are prepared. But I am your host, the Madman, Tyler Rowland, for my co-host, Lauren Cox. Thanks for tuning in and stay safe out there.